Welcome, members, to another episode of From the Archives. My name is Lesley Jones, and I am the Collections and Archives Manager at the History Center. In these episodes, I will be taking you into the archives and sharing items with you that have a fascinating history behind them. Today, we have part 2 about pieces from a landmark on the square, the Dixie Hunt Hotel. The artifact we will be discussing in part 2 is a barber chair from the basement of the hotel. In part 2, we will look at the amenities of the hotel, the history of the piece, and a bit about the donor, Mr. Pope Martin Ellard. As we discussed in the first part of the Dixie Hunt Hotel, the hotel became an office space. But before that, there were many amenities if you were a guest. If you think about amenities today, there is a pool, maybe a gym, and a free breakfast of granola bars and cereal. The Dixie Hunt had very different perks. First, there was the Little New Yorker, a dress shop that Jane Smith said as a girl was the finest shop I had ever seen. There was a dining room where you could eat shrimp cocktail and listen to a live piano player. They had a shoeshine boy and an elevator operator named Clinton that Gainesville residents still remember today. One amenity that I love and wish we still had in hotels today was a barber shop. Michael Grizzle remembered barber Mr. Pethel fondly. He said that Mr. Pethel came out to New Holland Mill to give his father a haircut when he was bedridden from back surgery. Jody Sessa's father worked as a barber there for several years and even today remembers the hotel lobby as something out of a movie with lots of marble. Billy Coker said, "My dad took us on Saturday for haircuts in the 1960s. Linda Payne Little said, "My Uncle John Hooper was a beloved barber working there for many years. I would go with my 2 brothers and wait until Uncle John would cut their hair." We have a photograph in our archives of the barbershop in the Dixie Hunt Hotel, along with a comic strip that hung in the shop. The barber chair in our archives is in pristine condition. As you can see, Mr. Ellard took very good care of the chair after the barbershop's closing. The barber chair was made by the Koken Barber Supply Company, named after the founder of the company, Mr. Ernest Koken. Mr. Koken worked as an artist, creating hand-decorated mugs, mirrors, razors, and clips, and selling them to local barbershops. In 1900, Mr. Koken had an idea for a barber chair that had a lever to move the chair up and down. Mr. Koken died in 1909, and his son, Walter Koken, expanded the business. Not only did they sell barber chairs, but they also sold beauty parlor chairs, dental chairs, and chairs for family doctors. The Koken Barber Supply Company became the largest barber supply company in America. The Koken barber chair we have in the archives was made in the 1930s. It's leather and comes with a headrest, a razor strap, and a towel holder. The lever that was patented by Mr. Koken still works on this chair. It's hard to believe this chair is almost 100 years old, but it is clear that the Dixie Hunt Barbers and Mr. Ellard took great care of this piece. Let's talk about the donor of this piece, Mr. Pope Martin Ellard, who went by Martin. Mr. Ellard lived in Northeast Georgia his whole life. He was born in Cornelia and moved to Gainesville in 1953 to start his own accounting firm. Mr. Ellard married Miss Elizabeth Snowden from Monroeville, Alabama, and had 3 children. Mr. Ellard was president of the Georgia Society of CPAs, member of the Council of the American Institute of CPAs, was a deacon at First Baptist Church, was a member of the Council of the Board of Education in Georgia, and was a member of the local Kiwanis, where he received perfect attendance for over 32 years. Our board member president here at the History Center, Mr. Barclay Rushton, was president of the Kiwanis when Mr. Ellard was a member. He remembers Mr. Ellard well. He told me a great story about him. I think my favorite story that Martin would tell on himself was his coming to Gainesville. Martin, who I believe was Gainesville's first CPA, came to town and rented an office in the Jackson Building, which was then Gainesville's premier office complex. In those days, you would buy your phone and then the company would install it. His first day in his office, he was sitting at his desk without much to do, hoping that someone would show up needing a CPA. Then a knock came on the door. Martin, wanting to give a good first impression as a busy man, picked up the unconnected phone, then called out to the person at the door to come in. As he was coming in, Martin pretended to speak to someone, saying, "Yes, we'll take care of that, and I will get back to you." Martin then hung up the phone and asked the gentleman how he could help him. The man, with a very confused look on his face, said, "I'm just here to hook up the phone." Mr. Rushton is also a CPA who also runs an accounting firm, Rushton & Company. The company has won the best firm to work for in accounting today, and we are so thankful to have him on the board. Mr. Ellard loved his 1931 Ford A model, which he donated to the Interactive Neighborhood for Kids, also known as the Inc. Children's Museum. He was a UGA graduate who attended as many football games as he could, loved playing golf, and enjoyed an occasional cigar or two. Mr. Ellard was certainly a pillar of the community, and I think it's important for everyone to know how much work he and Superintendent Revis Blankeny did to integrate schools with safety and peace. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of From the Archives. It is because of members like you that we get the opportunity to delve into the research on these amazing objects. I'd like to thank Mr. Ellard's sons, Dan and Bill, our board president, Mr. Barclay Rushton, former executive director of the History Center, Glenn Kyle, and to the residents of Gainesville who remember the Dixie Hunt Hotel, and Mr. P. Martin Ellard. Please comment if you have any questions about the Dixie Hunt Hotel or about what artifacts we have here at the History Center.